Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Jason Medlock. Jason is a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, mindset performance coach, remote viewer, and author of Empowered by Consciousness. With a profound understanding of human potential and a passion for empowering others, Jason has dedicated his career to helping people become exceptional leaders capable of achieving their goals with confidence. He encourages others to find their spiritual path by unlocking their potential and creating a fulfilling life. Welcome, Jason. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm very appreciative to be here, and I'm happy to really work with you. And also, I love empaths. I love people who can feel and who have the awareness of others, and it's fabulous. All the different modalities out there. So, thank you for having me on.
I'm getting goosebumps. I feel you. I'm an empath, Jason.
Yes.
So we're going to have a really fun show today. I feel like the theme this week is tuning into our inner abilities. So you and I, we're going to talk about developing our inner abilities by making the unknown known. And so, many people think that being superhuman is out of reach or a fantasy. But as we begin to delve into the subconscious mind and the quantum field to empower ourselves through consciousness, we begin to realize that we are a lot more than what we have been taught. And so, Jason, you have always been fascinated by the unknown, and I have too, ever since I was a child. And so I'd love for you to start off with your story and sharing when you realized that you actually had these inner abilities and what those abilities are.
I'll scoot through it, but at 9 years old, I was asking questions to my mom, to my sister, what's in the skies? What are all those shiny objects? And my sister would say, those are stars and we're on planet Earth. I'm like, well, how do you know? And, just the curiosity from then on, just wondering, Mom, who is God? Where is he? We all pray to him. I'm in church playing with toys, just having a good old time as a young boy. But I got up, I prayed, I sat down, I got up, I sat down, I followed the entire routine of the Methodist Church. And I was still wondering, well, where was he? And just the fact that, it was night, it was day, it was hot, the sun, the moon, those things really, really, as a young boy, they made me realize that we're not alone. And they made me realize that it was something more to just getting up, going to Sunday school, going to church, praising God, which I praise God, but it was just something different. So I always knew I dreamed of being on other planets. I dreamed of being in different galactic wars and, playing with my toys. And as I got older, when I got to college, my sister gave me something to help me focus more in school. And she gave me the affirmation of faith. And I was saying this affirmation every day, every day, every day. And before you know it, I was doing great in school. I set a school record in tackles. I was playing football in college. Things were just going good. And I'm like, man, this stuff works. But little did I realize that was a form of metaphysics. That was a form of using manifestation tools, but I still didn't quite get it. But I knew that I had the ability to manifest. And then lo and behold, years down the line, I came in contact with The Secret. And I think that we all did.
Yes. I think that was a huge awakening for me, was The Secret.
That was so huge, Sonia. The Secret was, wow, the vision board, law of attraction, just using these things. I started using the vision board and I'm like, man, the things that I'm saying that I want and I'm envisioning, I'm getting them. How is that even possible? So I start to realize again, I can do what I want to do as long as I say it a whole lot of times. And this is my mindset back then. I just say it a lot of times and I just keep, looking at it and visualizing it. And it all came together, COVID-19. it just came together. It gave me a time to unconnect from this busy world, this hustle and bustle that we're all connected to. And it gave me a time to go within myself. My first experience with trying to learn how to meditate, when I meditated and I started to really get good at it, you know, prana breath, all the different kalapate breath, all the different fire breath, all the different breath techniques that moves your consciousness into different realms. And that's when I started to like feel things. I never was a audible clairaudient,
Clarion,
but I
yeah.
always I felt. I never
Lucky
told
you.
people, you know what I mean? I never
I
told
know.
people, oh, I saw something. Oh, no. I'm not a seer. I feel it, and it comes. My feelings comes in the form of images and pictures, and I
Oh,
started to see pictures, and I'm like, oh, I'm onto something. I have some sort of something, ability, gift. I wasn't sure, and I started to then, like all of us, find a spiritual teacher, find a guru, and then I realized that the capabilities I had, they were endless, just like we are.
yeah, absolutely. And that's really neat. So, I love interviewing different guests and seeing what their intuitive abilities are, because we all, kind of perceive things very differently, right? And so I have a few questions. What is the affirmation of faith? I've never heard of that before, and I heard that in your previous video. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The affirmation of faith was, simply, oh Lord, we thank you for this day. Grant us guidance as we pray. Give us strength, hand and heart. Just a daily routine of telling God exactly, what you want out of life. And it was an affirmation when you could also call it, manifesting. I want a new car. I want to be better as a husband. I am abundant. I am light. So the affirmation was just simply these commands that I was telling God what I wanted and who I was.
And
So that's sort
reprogramming
of
your subconscious mind in the process.
at an early age in college, not knowing what it was just doing what my sister told me. And it was more so, she was like, you need to, talk, speak to God, and here's some affirmations that you need to say to God every day. And she called them the affirmation of faith.
That's neat. That's really neat. I love
Yeah.
that. And it's neat that you had your sister there to kind of guide you along that path. And so, Jason, why do you think we have a difficult time understanding our abilities? I know it took me a while to I had turned off my clairaudience as a child. My friends remember me holding my ears and saying, it's too loud, it's too loud. And I think I turned the volume down after third grade is when I did that. And then as time went on, I've noticed, like you said, you haven't tuned into that. Well, I hear in different dimensions and different realms. And so why do you think we have a hard time understanding that we all have these abilities inside of us?
Great question. It's because of our current construct. It's because of the reality that is surrounding us. It's because of the emotionless women and the emotionless men. It's because we were raised to be tough, and you better not cry.
Mhm.
You don't do this with boys, and you do XYZ. It's the structure of our society that shuts us off from our natural abilities, the natural abilities to feel, to hear, to smell, to touch. And those are all the senses that who use? Psychics.
Yes.
That's how they find
And
people.
empaths.
They'll
Mhm.
find empathic people. They'll find a cloth. And she's located in this direction, or they'll get a scent. Our senses, our abilities, our emotions are limited. We're limited, and that's why it's hard for us to understand our capabilities. And I'm glad you asked me that, because I started to allow myself to really, really be sensitive, allow myself to feel. And as I continued to meditate, it allowed me to just relax and open up. And the abilities that we possess from within, they will come to you. Audience, whoever's listening, just you have to let your guard down. You have to decompress from the outside and all the hustle and bustle and all the noise. And then you really, really need to spend more time with yourself it will continue to be difficult if you aren't in tune with who you are and just the feeling you have of being within yourself.
Yeah, and that's so true, Jason. I think,
Yeah.
that learning how to disconnect to reconnect, right? So,
Yes.
I worked in healthcare for nearly 20 years and it was loud. Trauma centers are loud, lots of buzzing, lots of talking, yelling sometimes. And so I think very similar to you, once I pulled out of that and I started to meditate and spend more time in silence is when my clairaudience really started to kick in. And I think it was always there. It just was kind of I was being distracted by all these other things going on. And I want to talk about dimensions, and I want to talk about some of this fun
Love it.
stuff that Jason, you're a quantum healing practitioner and a remote viewer, and so am I. And it's very rare that I've met someone who does both, and I have a really fun time working in those different realms, those different dimensions, those different timelines, so to speak. And so we're regularly working in the quantum field. And Jason, how do we utilize that energy from those different dimensions, those different realms, to help us heal, multidimensionally, so to speak, which would be mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually?
Well, I'm also a level 3 galactic energy healer.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
you're like,
Cool.
okay, so dude, what don't you do? Okay, well, let's talk about galactic energy healing and let's talk about Reiki energy healing.
Yeah.
And Reiki energy is the natural energy beams that are coming from the coming beamed into the earth. And these Reiki masters, they tap into this and they use the healing over your body, and they use their hands in the heat, and they're able to find closed chakras, and they're able to open up these chakras so that everything's turning. Galactic energy healing is channeling multidimensional beings and channeling healing patterns.
And
So when you say utilize energy from different dimensions, in one aspect, as a galactic energy healer, I channel different energy healing patterns because we use medicine and we use technology and heart defibrillators and all kind of things to help us. But as you evolve and as technology and intelligence evolve in different dimensions, they use healing patterns, kokure, drawing patterns and
yes.
symbols and then pushing them to your patient. So that's one way to utilize different energy from different dimensions. It helps us heal emotionally, physically, and mentally. However, quantum healing hypnosis, Julia Cannon, she taught me. Obviously, Dolores is
Dolores' daughter.
passed on.
Mhm.
But utilizing quantum healing hypnosis, oh my God,
It's a
we're
game changer.
actually
Mhm.
it's awesome. We're actually moving you well past the regular hypnosis state. I mean, well past theta into the somnambulistic state. And in the somnambulistic state, we're then able to connect with the higher self. Now, okay, Jason. So what is that? I mean, the higher self is your oversoul, the being who is within you, who is in the spiritual realm. God has separated his wholeness into trillions of pieces, trillions, and I can't even give you a number, an infinite number of individual particles that inhabit these avatars all over the galaxy in multi dimensions. So we can connect with our higher self, one of those particles, to get understanding, to get healing emotionally and physically. And let me just give you an example. While I'm with a client and I am talking to the client and I move them to this somnambulistic state. And once I bring them off the cloud, and once they are then at a point to where we're connected, I'll start to move them to different past lives. And then they'll start to answer, like, where are you? And the first thing we want to know is, where are you? What are you wearing? Do you
Look
have
at your
any
feet, your
hands?
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any hands? Do you have, are you male or female?
Do you
You know
have a
exactly what I'm
fin?
talking about.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so we figured this out. Some people don't have hands. Some people
Yeah.
say, "Well, I'm floating.
I'm a
I'm
light
energy.
body. Yeah.
I only see light around me." You may have caught them in the spiritual realm, but But once you're able to get there, and we go through all these different past lives, we are looking for the connection of the emotional issue that you have in this current state,
Mhm.
or the physical issue, or whatever the issue is. Can we find it in the past life? Typically, we can, or we can get close to it. Oh, but when we move you back out and we call upon the higher self, I mean the subconscious mind, which you already know.
Yes.
When we call upon the subconscious mind, we get a clear, distinct intelligence that we're speaking to. It would shock some people until they hear it on audio tape, because
Yes.
we tape it. And when we say, well, can we heal Tanya from this trauma, this depression she's dealing with? Why is she dealing with this? She knows. Tanya understands that, they start to talk to
Usually like
you.
Tanya knows, but let's remind her
Let's remind
this
her.
reality. Yeah.
So how do we help people then? And this is to the audience. We ask the subconscious mind, is it necessary for Tanya to experience this in this current lifetime? And they may say, no. And we'll say, can you fix it? Can we help Tanya? Yes. And I always like to ask, how will you do it?
Yeah.
And I'm always listening for first person conversation. First person conversation, you're talking to the client. Third person, you're talking to the actual higher self.
Exactly. And
So
in that
when they say
seriousness
we,
that comes through in the voice, you're like, whoa, I feel
exactly. When
that.
they say I, okay, we gotta get a little deeper. When they start saying we, okay, that's where we want you. But you're able then to facilitate. You're able to facilitate an injured foot, a depressed situation, and if they can fix it, they will. If they can't fix it, Dolores likes to tell us to say to them, "Well, Dolores said that you could fix anything." And that you're powerful, and we respect your power.
You're gonna love
So
Dolores.
I love her too. So we then find out, possibly that you yourself wanted to go through this particular emotion or this physical trauma here on Earth for learning purposes. So it's fascinating how we can utilize different energies from different dimensions to bring forth all types of healing, to answer all types of questions. So it's fascinating, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
I totally do. And it's so fun because I've actually done a show on this, how our spirit guides are actually us. It's just us in different frequencies. And so when
Yes.
my very first quantum session myself that I did, I had several different personalities of myself come through, but like you said, when that higher self comes through, it is no joke. And I had a friend, when we first started doing our quantum healing sessions, we had to practice on one another. And I had a friend do a session on me, and I wasn't video recording it, but I was audio recording it, and you could hear them. He got very kind of stuttery, because when my higher self came in, he said it felt as if the energy in the place, he felt blasted almost. It was like this massive burst of energy came in through me, and I was answering questions before he was even asking the questions. It was like that, my higher self was on it. It was like, okay, we already
But
know what you're
listen,
going to ask.
though, what about when Dolores said that the one time the energy came into the room when the higher self, the subconscious mind showed up, and there was a lady in the back who had back pains, and all of a sudden the back pains were gone, and that's why she came to the conference. And when this energy, ladies and gentlemen, when this energy comes into the room, it's pure healing energy from different dimensions, something that we cannot totally comprehend. And it is a beautiful, beautiful energy and a beautiful interaction with a level of intelligence that's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, so true, Jason. It's so true. It's like, not only are we being healed, but everyone around us is being healed as well.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. And I know you probably know, being a practitioner, there's times I'm struggling with something, and then I attract a client that is too, and then we heal through the session, both of us, whether they know that I'm being healed or not. But I'm like, wow, how fascinating is the law of attraction, when it comes to working with quantum healing hypnosis.
How about manifesting it in a meditation, which I'll talk about later, manifesting the client, and then your freaking phone rings about an hour later with a client.
Oh,
I've had that happen several times after meditation, after I asked for my higher self to send me a client that I can help. Yes.
yeah. And then you're like,
Crazy.
oh, I guess I needed a little healing too.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Jason, I want to talk about the angelic realms as well. I am very connected with the angelic realms, and I know that you are too. I was listening to your story about a book that was guided to you to read about the archangels. And, you know, we've kind of been taught in traditional religion that the angels are some guys hanging out with some wings, you know, but that's not, and that they're separate from us. But that's not really the experience that I have had working in the quantum field. I see them as light and sound. And so how do we connect with the archangels? What has been your experience with that?
Elizabeth Womack. We all know who she is, the 12 Archangels. That book was astounding to me. It was life-changing for me. All the colors, all the different prayers of connection that you can do to connect with the energy of the archangels, all the healing prayers within that book, dipping yourself in the gold and purple bath of fire to release the depression, but I've learned from my spiritual guide how to connect with these archangels. Obviously, we have a guardian angel, and we have one at a diagonal angle about, I guess, 6 to 7 feet behind us that's with us to protect us.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we have these beings that are around us. And I used a meditation that was taught to me on how to connect with my archangels. And it's, a breathing technique, and you get into you get into yourself, and you breathe in and breathe out, and you imagine that you're at the top of the crown chakra, and you are walking into an elevator or staircase or whatever you can visualize. And once you get on the staircase, you go all the way down to the heart chakra. And then once you're in the heart chakra, the door opens. And there's a corridor with a lot of doors on the side, with a door at the end. And you're imagining that you're walking down this door, and you open that door, and it's a beautiful area full of greenery, full of light, birds, and there's a bench. And I have this in my book. There's a bench and it's almost like you've read this book already.
I feel like I'm kind of like that. I can kind of hold my hand over some things
Yes.
and get information. Yeah.
So there's a bench there to your right, made of pure light. And you sit there, and you invite your angels, your archangel Michael, the guardian angels, your spirit guides.
Just
You
felt that
invite,
energy come up behind me. There is no
you,
joke
you
here
know,
right now.
and
Yeah.
and you invite them to
They're
come
like,
there.
okay.
And I was taught to say, I am here. I am here to connect. Is there any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with me? I am ready to connect. So this is a visual presentation in your mind of moving from the crown chakra to the heart chakra and channeling. I was taught to connect through the heart chakra,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
going through the heart chakra, and then moving down the corridor, and then opening the door, visualizing, and then sitting on that white light bench area, and then calling on the archangels, calling on your spirit guides, and then connecting in conversation. Well, Jason, how do you connect? That's how I connect, and I'm quiet, and I listen for anything that comes to me. Now, people were like, "Is someone talking to you?" I'm not clairaudient. However, if you listen to the first subtle thing that you can hear, that is just a conscious mind speaking to you, the archangel, the higher self, the spirit guide speaking to you. So you have to be quiet, and you can hear messages that you've asked or messages that you need to hear. And we're going to talk a little bit later about remote viewing, but I'm going to share with you the same concept I use when I'm in remote viewing. But that's
Yeah.
how I would suggest And there are a lot of different ways. There's never one way in spirituality to do things, but that's how I connect with my archangels, my spirit guides, beings that are here to help us. And I connect, or loved ones. I connect that way.
That's beautiful. And that's very different than the way that I connect. So I'm glad that you shared that, because like you said, it's all very different. I connect through sound. So I use resonant tuning with the vowels. So E, A, and then I speak
Yes.
Hebrew, like Od, Irir, Om, Tachrak, Ili, E, A, O, A. And then I start seeing symbols in my head, like a Metatron, symbol and different things. So it's very different how we learn how to connect with them. But like I said, just by us talking, I can feel their presence right behind me. Usually I'll feel Michael presents himself usually on my right hand back here, right hand side. And it was just when they walk, it's funny because I've worked with clients before, and one girl's hair went, and I was like, oh, like, when they come into the room, it's very palpable and you can really feel that. And so I love, like you said, just go explore your own way of connecting with
Yes.
the angelics, because that's your way, right? That's your way. And that's what your
And
subconscious knows.
I don't want to sound weary of people, but when a person, sometimes when a person says, I connect the same way, everybody has a different
Yes.
way. Not that you can't connect in a similar way, but everybody can't connect through sound. They just, you can't. I would say really be who you are, whoever this resonates with, be who you are and be truthful about the way you experience, because it's unique and it's beautiful.
It really is. And, some people they'll see the energy come in, and it's really just where your inner abilities are and, which ones are fine tuned. I'm very clairsentient like you, Jason. So I feel them. It's like, I feel them before I even have any other,
But how about Elizabeth Woman? Oh my God. She is when I was reading her book, I was like, oh my God. And then I started to search and try to find her. When I saw one of her interviews, she looked like pure light to me.
Yes.
Pure energy. I was just amazed that she is a beautiful soul. I love her.
So beautiful. And so let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about remote viewing, because that's something that you and I obviously utilize. I don't utilize it as much, but I have in the past. I've done several shows and done several different remote viewing targets. But can you share a little bit about maybe a fun target that you remote viewed?
I remote view Skinwalker Ranch, and
Oh, fun.
I was fascinated. So my teacher, Tony Civilele, remote view us, and Tony and I have done several sessions, and we've done 4 shows over remote viewing, but we did Skinwalker Ranch, and Tony Tony gave me the coordinate, and then I drew the ideogram. And once I drew the ideogram with the hand, I just let it go. And then I don't use the tip of the pen. I use my fingers, and I just touch the ideogram, and I got all these, light, horizontal, energy, all the different characteristics of what we were looking for. So we went through that in phase 1, and came back in phase 2, long, hot, cold, all that stuff. Just getting all the characteristics down in my head. And in phase 3, I came up with some sketches, what I thought, I was feeling and what I was actually seeing, because sometimes I can touch it and I can feel. Sometimes when I touch the ideogram, I can see. Okay, so I came up with, everything was, more of energy, radiation, something's there in a room that has radiation symbols on it. And I had these big tubular, I don't know what they were, but just these big, huge tubes up underground underneath the ranch. And then I had a tower. So we had to go to phase 4. And this is scientific remote viewing. I'm an associate remote viewer also, so I know there are different techniques. So in scientific remote viewing, we go to phase 4. And then we start to narrow down, move 50 feet, move 100 feet. Tell me what you see. just start to narrow down more and more. So I started to put all these different characteristics in all my different horizontal categories. And then once I finished this session and I recorded it, I put all of my work in the book. I came to the conclusion that I saw these big tubular tunnels underground was just that. They were huge tubular tunnels. And at the end of one of them was this huge room full of aircrafts, not planes, but just different crafts. Okay. And there were humanoid type people in this facility underground. There were huge vents, and there was a room that was full of it looked like nuclear type weapons or some type of installation there.
Mhm.
So that was a cool one.
So these tubes are man-made, not organic.
I couldn't,
You couldn't tell?
I didn't, well, actually I can't, they were man-made. They were man-made tubes underground. And I don't know if it was an alien base or a US base, but the crafts were not airplanes as we know them. They were different type crafts. And I don't know if it was a
It's got to be
housing.
pretty big if it's fitting craft in there.
Huge. It was a huge facility, and it was running water. I kept seeing water underground that was running. So I thought that was a pretty cool one. And I had another. My spiritual guide called me, and she says, "Jason, I have a client. She is frantic. She cannot find her dog." Now she connects with animals. Chloe Moores. She communicates with animals. She's an outstanding channeler. So she connected with the dog, and she felt that the dog was scared, and she knew it. She says, "Jason, your remote viewing skills, you can find it." I said, "Okay, call your client and let her know I'm a call." So I called the client. I said, "I need for you to get a picture of this dog, and I need for you to assign a number, 4-digit number to the dog." Okay. And I didn't use remote viewing. I used associate remote viewing, but I used a targeting type of associate remote viewing that helps you find things in quadrants. You draw your line, and then you put A, B, C, D, and then you start to pick out where the location is. You narrow it down, and you narrow it down. So she did all that. She did a picture of the dog. She sent me all that. She sent me the numbers, and I started working on it. And I kept coming up with, as I was going through my session, associate remote viewing session, I kept going through and I noticed power line. I drew a lake and I drew a park area with people sitting out at a picnic. And I drew a tree and I drew some sort of barrier right by the tree. And I kept saying, the dog is right by the tree. He's sitting there by the tree. And I called Tony Civilale, who's my remote viewing instructor. And I said, "Tony, can you help me with this?" I gave him the coordinates, and he's like, "This dog is somewhere by a tree, and it's an open area, a lot of people there with power lines." I said, "Tony, I got the same thing." Call this lady late that night and gave her all my information. They found that dog, not late that night, late that evening. They found that dog down the road. She said, "What you just drew, Jason, was a park right down the street from our house." So they went there. It was not at the park. It was a little bit down the road, but guess where it was?
Where?
It was stuck under a fence right next to a tree.
Oh.
And they found the dog. And she called me. She tried to pay me. I said, no, I'm okay. But I'm here in Texas, and you guys are in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
and that dog was under a tree, stuck under the fence, stuck right next to a tree. I thought he was like resting by the tree.
Out. Yeah.
But he was right there by the fence that I drew right by the tree. So those are two cool ones.
That is such a cool.
Do you have any
story? Those are examples of what we can do with remote viewing. I was on Jessica Jones's show, Remote Viewing Investigations, and we remote viewed the Dark Pyramid in Alaska. And when I sat down to do it, it bounced me out. They bounced me out. Those who were in there, they're like, no. So I waited for about 12 to 24 hours. I can't remember, but then I was able to re-enter a different way. But it's kind of funny because we found a lot of really neat information just remote viewing that. And we also remote viewed the Salem witch trials as well. So it's really fun when you can take it to, you can take it to a galactic level, or you can take it to, I want to help find your dog level. That's the neat thing about remote viewing.
Yeah, that moving your consciousness and using your intuitive abilities, it's really fabulous, and it really helps. The way I really got to the level that I am with remote viewing, I credit a lot of it to transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
Dr. Courtney Brown is one of the I don't want to say godfathers, I'm gonna say the god ladies of scientific remote viewing. And Courtney Brown's book is absolutely fabulous. And that's sort of how my instructor learned, through Courtney and some of the other top guys out there. But transcendental meditation was huge if you were already a remote viewer. And the ability to calm your body for 20 minutes and just to be at peace, and to reach a level of transcendence, meaning that if you're at the top of the water, you hear the waves, shh, and then when you move down, you hear bloop, 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 bloop. You can hear the bubbles. And once you move further down into this ocean, this vast ocean, you experience a level of quiet, a level of peace. So when I'm remote viewing, when I'm preparing, and I can get there quickly, this level of peace, this quiet, this stillness. And like we were taught, when you touch the first low-lying piece of information that comes to you, typically it's the one. And I was really good at suppressing my conscious mind.
Yeah, the
And
set aside technique, moving everything over. Yeah.
And allowing the subconscious mind to give me the answers. And when I started working with him, he was like, "Man, you're picking these targets out quick." But I noticed that it was because I had primed myself with meditation to really help. Now I use associated remote viewing. I learned that from a guy named David Wallace. He's a top psychic in Hawaii. David Wallace is a guy that you see on the YouTube a lot with. He uses it to predict future outcomes.
Oh, wow.
With all kind of sporting events. So we use pictures. We use 10 photos, maybe a set of 100, but 10 photos, and we move them around. And we pick out, show me if the game will be over or under the Chicago Bears versus Dallas Cowboys played on December the 2nd, 2023. If this is if this is over, let me know. Put that one down, then take this one, do the same thing, put that one down. And then we go into a meditation and we come out of it. And then we start to, write what we feel in the description line. And then we will then rub our hands over the paper and then draw a sketch on both sides on what we think it is. And then we'll open the envelopes. And if it matches, we're at 100%. And if we don't, we have to go through a formula that Russell Targ created. And you go through this formula, and if you're more than 3.5, it's a yes. If you're under, what I'm talking about, if you're under 3.5, it's a no. So I've done this. I have almost a 45%, 40% hit rate on NBA games.
That's great. And then you're on your bookie, right? No, just kidding.
Well, but I have a few of my sessions in the book, and I learned that AVR. ARV technique, and I use it a lot. I use it in business.
Yeah.
I have people call me to ask me, "Hey, should I do this deal?" Well, wait a minute, give me the details. Okay, let me do this real quick. So it's faster than scientific remote viewing, and I also try to back everything I do. I back it up with the sway test.
Yes, or a pendulum or muscle testing. I do that
exactly.
Too.
I try to back it up to see if it matches.
Yes.
Sometimes I get in trouble, but
Yeah, and there's no doubt in my mind, Jason, that you and I this isn't our first rodeo doing remote viewing. I picked it up very quickly too, and I think it's something we obviously were very good at in past lives. And so I was taking my classes with a friend, and she's like, "How are you getting all these targets?" And they were coming to me very rapidly, and I was actually surprised at how quickly they were coming. But I do feel that this is probably some sort of an inner ability that is in our subconscious that we have now brought forward to our conscious mind.
Exactly.
And we're pretty good at it, right? And it's fun. I have a great time doing it. And
It's fun.
Jason, I want to talk about your book. Okay. I want to talk about your book, Empowered by Consciousness. And so, what do you mean when you say empowered by consciousness? I mean, I can have probably a good understanding, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Well, I'm empowered. Everything I do is because I use my consciousness. Every modality that I've set forth to learn is because of my conscious abilities, and I know how to tap into my subconscious mind, and it helps me to achieve things. It helps me to reset my mindset. It helps me to reprogram my thoughts. I'm empowered by this beautiful thing we call consciousness. And I set forth a number of objectives when I was writing this book, and primarily I wanted to recount my spiritual journey, and I wanted to share the wisdom that I had, and allow other people to follow everything I was trying to do. Not as something that's just, well, this is just your thing. No, I wanted it to be looked at as a resource. I want the book to be looked at as some sort of a database where people can go to say, okay, this spiritual modality right here. Okay, but now he's talking about channeling, that's one of the chapters in my book. But I don't just say, one day I was meeting with my channeling instructor, and she showed me how. No, I go in depth. I give very critical history in detail about how channeling has been used over the years, different scholars who have talked about it, scientific study and research. And then I go into my story on my experiences, and then I teach you in the book on how you can achieve it. So Empowered by Consciousness, I envision the book as sort of a compass for people who are yearning to venture beyond, conventional, the unknown, conventional boundaries that we have here while we're incarnated on this earth, and boundaries of religion practices, boundaries of your mom and dad's beliefs, and to learn and to open your mind. I challenge you to open your mind and to experience different things that can actually help you develop and grow your mindset, change your life in any way you'd like. Empowered by Consciousness it's deep. It talks about a lot of different modalities, and it's an open invitation to all readers who'd like to bolster anything they like to bolster.
Yeah, and I think it's fun. I think as we begin to expand our consciousness, we become more open to these different modalities. And, sometimes we advance out of modalities, but then we take it to a new level. Like, for example, one of the first modalities I learned was EFT tapping. And now I incorporate that in my quantum healing hypnosis sessions. And I'm sure you do that too. I use channeling, I use light language, a variety of things. And I'm like, I was just, it was like I had these building blocks of all these modalities. And now the neat thing is you can incorporate them in the quantum.
You've taken the words right out of my mouth, out of my mind, actually. I use a number of modalities and I merge some of them to help clients. I merge some of them to achieve things that I want to achieve, so taking different ones, like say, for instance, quantum healing hypnosis. Okay, you can use that, and people use it for different things like healing or mental or whatever. But I've said to myself, well, wait a minute, we can use it for weight loss. You can use it for sports hypnosis. You can use quantum healing hypnosis for a number of things. You can use it in remote viewing. So I'm like, man, a lot of these are very much interchangeable, and I'm glad you said that, because I do the same.
Oh, you can use it in remote viewing.
Yes. Yes.
It's limitless, right? And I think that's the neat thing about it, is it's absolutely limitless. And I think when I started learning quantum healing hypnosis, we can actually do it on ourselves. Like, once you get to a master level, I think that's where that transcendental meditation comes in, is I have visually seen myself shift timelines in a quantum healing hypnosis session I did on myself. And it was drastic, because the next day my friends didn't even recognize who I was. I had embodied more aspects of my higher self. And it was like, I've even done a show on this. I called it walk-in came in during my awakening. It was like totally different version of me, but I know that it was more, I was embodying more of my higher self. And it's so fascinating what we can do. I mean, and I feel like we're just barely touching the surface when it comes to working in the quantum field.
We're barely touching the surface. And I want Empowered by Consciousness to serve as, a spiritual lantern or beacon, to help people open their eyes on forgotten pathways, so that they can, it can help them inspire themselves to do much more. Don't be afraid of what we are. We are made of light and sound. We are multidimensional beings. And that's what we are. We're inhabiting these avatars and we are experiencing this lifetime. Our higher self is experiencing several different lifetimes at the same time. And this happens to be one of them. So, explore, it's a profound experience, awakening, a powerful awakening of truth and manifestation.
Absolutely. And so, Jason, where can people find your book?
Well, you can find the book right now. You can actually go to my website. The book is not out yet. October the 10th, and I'm gonna send you one too. October the 10th will be the launch date, but you can go to www.jasonmedlock.com, sign up, and I will, get you out information as the book is ready to come out. We're in the final stages of formatting and book cover. So, I mean, we're done writing the book. I'm done writing the book. I've had so many people look at that doggone book, Tanya, edit and take that out. No, this is not. Hey, leave my book alone. Okay,
like, this is my channeled message. Leave my book alone.
Leave it alone. But yes, it'll be out October the 10th. www.jasonmedlock.com, Empowered by Consciousness.
That's great. And so, Jason, you just want to share briefly some of the services that you provide?
Well, I'm a mindset coach. Obviously. So I am a quantum healing hypnosis technician. And I have within quantum healing, I also offer regular hypnosis for people who don't want to, go to that price point. Citizen re-entry, people that are re-entering citizenship from being jailed. They need a mindset shift and, they need to reprogram their mind, weight loss, sports hypnosis, business success, academic success. People don't realize if you're smart, you can become smarter.
Yeah. And if you're a good athlete, you can become a better athlete, right?
You can become a better athlete. It's all about our mind. And what I've done is I've said, you know what? I'm going to create a mindset boot camp. So I created a 7-day immersive, intensive program. Day one, you got, hypnosis, visualization sessions, these exercises to do. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So it's a 7-day boot camp that I've created. It's not ready yet, but it will be out in here in the next few weeks. And I'm also in the process of creating a 12-week program so that people can log on and they can do a 12-week course on actually getting out of this rut and changing their mindset to be whoever it is or attain whatever it is they want to attain. Now, if you want to work with me personally, and just like when you work with us personally, it costs a little bit more. That's why I'm creating these courses so it's much more manageable, because when I have to personally work with someone, which I don't mind, we have to,
well, it's an energy.
Like Tanya, we have to get.
Jason, it's funny you say that, because I just posted a few days ago that I'm being guided to work in larger groups as well as courses, because I think it's if we are trying to reach the masses, it's really tough doing one-on-one sessions. It's going to take us a lot longer to get there. And so I think as a collective, as we're beginning to embrace this aspect of assisting in the healing and the raising of the frequency of the planet, we're being guided to reach the masses. And I think courses is a great way to do that. And I myself am starting to look into ways to do that too.
Do that. You have your platform. You know exactly what you're doing. I mean, I'm listening to you. So you're at a high level. You know what you're doing, and just create your course. And don't even think about it. Just do it. And that's kind of how I say, you know what? I'm about to create a course. Secondly, one-on-one coaching, love it. But I saw where, man, I don't have enough time in the day to do anything.
Yeah.
It gets to be too much,
Mhm.
and you have to create the courses for people, and they're much more affordable than hiring us one-on-one. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and they can do it on their own time. Whatever country they live in, they can download that course and learn. And I think you're right. We are learning how to expend our energy in a way that will reach, more people, that's not draining and burning us out. At least that's been my experience. So
But I want to tell people also, if you don't mind, the expansion of consciousness. I'm moving into season 4. We start somewhere around October-ish. I'll be on, but I won't be having any guests. I'll be on kind of promoting the book, but we start in October. And I'm like, I was burnt out a little bit. I did about 50 something shows from April until July. And I said, oh, I need to take a break.
I hear you. And I think once you put the energy out there, I was getting so many guests. It was like overwhelming. And I'm right there with you, Jason. I'm taking a little break from the guest shows. You're my last guest show for at least for September. I'm going to take a breather. And I think once you put that out there in the law of attraction, the universe is like, oh, you want to be a host? Here you go. Here's a whole bunch of guests.
And I was speaking to my spiritual guide. She taught me how to channel, and she taught me a lot of different things. And she told me, also in the book, I have several. Well, I don't have several. I have 2 sessions. That one session is I was a woman in the back of a wagon, and looked like in the Western time. I was a white woman. I had red hair. And I was giving birth to a child on the back of a wagon. And I talk about that.
That sounds very Outlander to me.
In a Dolores Cannon style, therapist, subject, therapist, subject. So it's the transcript of one of my sessions. And then the other one, there's myself, and I'm speaking with the collective. And they're giving all this, high-end information. I can't remember it all. But that was the real cool part of the book as well, that people will find very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's really neat. And you never know what's going to come through in the sessions. I've even had I had a client say, I want to connect with my dragon. And I said, okay, I didn't even know I had a dragon, but evidently my dragon and his dragon, we received messages through that. So don't limit yourself on, what you can actually explore when it comes to the subconscious mind, because it can be as small as a grain of sand. You were a grain of sand. We are a grain of sand. We're all connected, right? Up to your dragon, so that's the fun part of it. Is I feel like I'm going on an adventure every time I do a quantum healing hypnosis session for someone, which is so fun.
As I'm a Billy Carson fan, as he likes to say.
Yes, we do.
Yes. He likes to call it Christ consciousness.
Yes.
And it's a huge consciousness web of connected individuals in the ether, in the vastness of the universe. And once we have a thought that leaves our minds, it moves in a light way, light thoughts and speed of light, and it is light, into the consciousness, the Christ consciousness, and it's commingling right there. And then when you raise yourself to a certain frequency, then you download all kind of thoughts that are there. That's how people get information, inventions, ideas that come up. We don't have our conscience right here local. Our conscience is not local. Our conscience is being beamed in from another location. So I just find, consciousness and all the things that surround it, just absolutely incredible. And once a person can slow down and remove themselves from the matrix,
Yes.
and start to focus more from within, you'll find out a whole lot about yourself.
That's so true. And I think that's a beautiful piece of advice to end the show, Jason. And so I thank you so much for coming on. I thank you for sharing your story. I think this was fascinating. All of the different things that we touched on in the show, these are things that light me up. They bring me joy. I really enjoy these types of conversations. So thank you for spending time with us today on the show. I really appreciate it. And I know that the listeners will too.
Thank you so much.
You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.